Hey, where are you watching this from? Drop it in the comments. Maybe you're holding on to a memory that feels like a lifeline. Maybe you're searching for something to guide you through the noise of today's world. Or maybe you've got a quiet voice in your head, someone from your past who knew something about life you're only starting to grasp. This story is personal. It's about a prayer my grandma taught me when I was just 7. A prayer I laughed off as a kid's game. A prayer I forgot for years, until life broke me down and forced me to remember. A prayer that's now the backbone of every big choice I make. You might know me for electric cars or rockets to Mars. But behind every wild dream, every moment I had to pick between the safe road and the crazy one, there's this simple prayer. It came from a woman who never owned a fancy thing in her life, but carried a wisdom deeper than any book I've read. Today, I'm sharing the start of that story, not to push her beliefs, but because her words might just be the anchor you need in a world that's always rushing. By the end of this, you'll see why the smallest lessons can carry the biggest truths. Why a whisper from someone who loved you can outshine 1,000 plans. I was 7, living in my grandma's tiny house in Pretoria. It was 1978. The place smelled like fresh bread and old wood, with creaky floors that groaned under every step. Grandma Cora was in her 70s, a woman who'd seen wars, lost family, and faced hard times that would crush most people. But she wasn't bitter. She had this glow like she knew a secret the world forgot. Her house was small, with a single light bulb dangling in the kitchen, and a window that caught the sunset just right. Every night, after washing dishes in a chipped sink, she'd sit in her rocking chair, hands folded, and talk to what she called the Almighty. I was a curious kid, always asking why. Why did the stars move? Why did her radio crackle? One night, I saw her lips moving, her eyes soft but focused, like she was chatting with an old friend. "What are you saying, Grandma?" I asked, climbing onto the arm of her chair. She didn't shush me or wave me off. She just smiled, her wrinkles folding like a map of her life. "I'm asking for help, Elon," she said. "Help to see the right way." I scrunched my nose. What if no one's listening? Her laugh was warm, like a hug. "Oh, someone's always listening, child. You just gotta quiet your heart." To hear that night, she taught me her prayer. "Dear God," she started, and I echoed her, my voice small but eager. "Show me what you see. Help me love what you love. Guide me to do what's right." It was short, simple, like a song you can't forget. I said it with her, thinking it was just a bedtime ritual, something to make her happy. I didn't know those words would stick with me, buried deep, waiting for the day I'd need them most. Back then, I was a kid with big dreams and bigger fears. I wanted to build things, machines, ideas, maybe even worlds. But I was scared I'd never be enough. Grandma saw that in me. She'd catch me staring at the sky, lost in thoughts too big for a 7-year-old. "You're gonna do great things," she'd say, her hand on my shoulder. "But you gotta listen for the path, not just run toward it." I didn't get it. I thought life was about being smart, working hard, winning. I had no clue her prayer was a map for the hardest roads I'd ever walk. Years later, when everything I built was crumbling, when I was staring at failure so big it could swallow me whole, her voice came back. But that's a story for the next part. What was it about those words that pulled me through? Why did a prayer from a tiny house in Pretoria become the key to decisions that changed my life? Where are you at right now? Drop it in the comments. Maybe you're facing a wall so high it feels like there's no way over. Maybe you're carrying a dream that's starting to feel like a burden. Or maybe you know what it's like to pour everything into something and watch it slip through your fingers. This part of my story gets raw. It's about the moment life hit me hard, when everything I'd built was falling apart. And I had to face the kind of failure that makes you question who you are. Grandma Cora's prayer was still buried in my mind, but I wasn't ready to hear it, not yet. It was December 2008. I was 37, sitting in a dim office at 2 a.m., surrounded by papers that screamed defeat. Tesla was bleeding money, weeks from bankruptcy. SpaceX had just failed its 3rd rocket launch in a row, each explosion a gut punch, millions of dollars gone in smoke. I'd sunk every cent from my PayPal days into these dreams, and now they were crumbling. The world was watching, waiting for me to fail. Reporters called me a dreamer, with no grip on reality. Friends told me to cut my losses, walk away. My own thoughts were louder, crueler. "You're not enough. You never were." I remember pacing the office, the hum of the computer like a ticking clock. My chest felt tight, like I couldn't breathe. I'd always thought smarts and hustle could solve anything. Build a better car, a better rocket, outwork everyone else. That was my plan. But now, Tesla's factory was stalling, suppliers were pulling out, and the bank account was a red number that grew bigger every day. SpaceX, we were one more failure from shutting down. I could see the headlines. Elon Musk's big bets go bust. I could feel the weight of every employee who believed in me, every investor who trusted me, every dream I'd promised to make real. I called a friend that night, my voice shaking. What if this is it? I asked. What if I've lost everything? He didn't sugarcoat it. Elon, you've got one shot left. Choose one, Tesla or SpaceX. You can't save both. His words cut deep. Choose. How do you choose between two dreams you've poured your soul into? It felt like picking which half of your heart to let die. I hung up, alone again, staring at a photo of my kids on my desk. What kind of father bets everything and comes home with nothing? The pressure wasn't just business. My personal life was unraveling too. Relationships were cracking under the strain of my obsession with work. Sleep was a stranger. I'd lie awake, replaying every decision, every mistake. I felt like I was drowning, and no one could throw me a rope. I'd always been the kid who asked why, and found answers. Now, the questions were bigger than me. Why is this happening? Why can't I fix it? I was angry at myself, at the world, at the universe for letting me believe I could do the impossible. Then, in that dark office, something flickered, a memory. Grandma Cora's voice, soft but steady, cutting through the noise in my head. Show me what you see, she'd prayed. I hadn't said those words in years. They felt childish, useless against balance sheets and rocket debris. But they were there, tugging at me, like a thread I'd forgotten I was holding. I whispered them, half desperate. Dear God, show me what you see. Help me love what you love. Guide me to do what's right. My voice cracked. I felt foolish, like a kid again. But something shifted. Not the numbers on my screen, not the news headlines, but inside me a tiny spark of clarity in the chaos. I didn't know it then, but that moment was the start of something bigger. Those words were about to pull me through the darkest night of my life. But first, I had to face a choice that felt impossible. One last shot for Tesla. One last shot for no money left, no time left, and the world betting against me. Could a prayer from a 7-year-old's memory really change anything? Or was this the end of everything I'd fought for? Hey, where are you right now? Share it in the comments. Maybe you're at a point where you feel like you're carrying the weight of the world. Maybe you've hit a wall so hard you're not sure you can keep going. Or maybe you've felt a spark, a tiny light in the dark, that made you believe things could turn around. This part of my story is where I broke. It's where I stared into the abyss of failure and felt it stare back. But it's also where Grandma Cora's prayer came alive. Like a lifeline, I didn't know I was holding. It was still December 2008, 3 a.m. now, in that same cold office. The air was heavy, like it was pressing down on me. My eyes burned from staring at numbers that refused to add up. Tesla was a heartbeat away from bankruptcy. SpaceX's third failed launch was still fresh. The wreckage, a reminder of my limits. I'd poured every dollar, every ounce of energy, every waking moment into these dreams. And it wasn't enough. My body ached, shoulders slumped, hands trembling from too much coffee and too little sleep. My mind was worse. A voice in my head kept whispering, "You're done, Elon. You bet it all, and you lost." I sank into my chair, the leather creaking under me. The office was silent except for the hum of the heater, but inside, it was chaos. I saw my kids' faces, their trust in me. I saw my team, people who'd left stable jobs to follow my crazy ideas. I saw Grandma Cora's house, that tiny Pretoria kitchen, where I first learned her prayer. And I felt like I'd betrayed them all. "I'm sorry," I whispered to no one, my voice hoarse. Tears stung my eyes, but I fought them back. Crying wouldn't fix this. Nothing would. I was ready to give up, not just on Tesla or SpaceX, but on the kid who believed he could change the world. I don't know why I did it. Maybe it was desperation. Maybe it was instinct. But I closed my eyes and said her prayer again, louder this time, like I was begging the universe to listen. "Dear God, show me what you see. Help me love what you love. Guide me to do what's right." Each word felt heavy, like lifting stones. I waited, half expecting silence, half hoping for a miracle. And then, something happened. Not a voice from the sky, not a sudden answer, but a memory so vivid it felt alive. I was 7 again, sitting on Grandma Cora's porch, the night air warm and thick with the smell of jasmine. She was telling me about her life losing her husband young, raising kids through wars and hunger. Life breaks everyone, Elon, she said, her eyes steady. But the Almighty always shows a way through. You just gotta trust the next step, not the whole road. I'd nodded, not really understanding. But in that office, 30 years later, her words hit me like lightning. The next step, not the whole plan. Not saving both companies. Just one step forward. Right now, I opened my eyes. My heart was still racing, but the fog in my mind cleared, just a little. What was the next step? For Tesla, it was one last pitch. 2 investors, one final plea for funding. For SpaceX, it was prepping for a 4th launch, using every lesson from the failures. I didn't know if it would work. The odds were against me, everyone said so. But Grandma's prayer wasn't about odds. It was about courage to move, even when you can't see the end. Give me the courage, I whispered, finishing the prayer. Help me trust your plan. I stood up, my legs shaky but steady enough. I grabbed my notebook and started writing plans, not for victory, but for the next move. Something inside me shifted, like a spark catching fire. I wasn't fixed. The problems weren't gone. But for the first time in weeks, I felt alive, like I could fight one more day. That spark was small, but it was enough to keep me from giving up. What happened next changed everything. Would that prayer really carry me through the impossible? Or was it just a moment of hope before the final fall? One thing was clear. The next step would decide it all. Where are you tuning in from? Hit the comments and let me know. Maybe you're staring down a moment where everything feels like it's hanging by a thread. Maybe you've tasted failure so bitter it makes you question everything. Or maybe you've felt that one spark, that one truth, that changes how you see the fight. This part of my story is where the ground shifted under me. It's where Grandma Cora's prayer stopped being just words and became a lens that showed me what I'd been missing. It's where I found the truth that would either save everything or burn it all down. It was still that brutal night in December 2008. The clock on my desk read 4 a.m. But time didn't matter anymore. Tesla was on its last breath. SpaceX was a gamble everyone called foolish. And I was a man running out of moves. My notebook was open, scribbled with desperate plans for one last pitch, one last launch. My hands shook as I gripped my pen, my throat tight with the weight of it all. I'd said Grandma's prayer, show me what you see. Help me love what you love. Guide me to do what's right. But I was still waiting for something, anything, to make sense. I felt like I was shouting into a void, begging for a sign. Then it hit me. Not a voice, not a vision, but a realization so sharp it stole my breath. I'd been fighting to win, to save Tesla, to save SpaceX, to prove I wasn't a failure. But Grandma's prayer wasn't about winning. It was about seeing. I'd been so focused on my plans, my timelines, my outcomes that I'd missed the bigger picture. What if this wasn't about saving my companies? What if this was about proving something bigger? That electric cars could change the world. That private rockets could open the stars. That a small team with a crazy dream could outfight giants. Show me what you see, I whispered again. And for the first time, I understood. This wasn't about me. It was about what these dreams could mean for everyone else. My heart pounded, loud in my ears. My eyes stung, not from exhaustion now, but from a fire I hadn't felt in months. I saw it clear as day. Tesla wasn't just a car company. It was a chance to rewrite how we move on this planet. SpaceX wasn't just rockets. It was humanity's shot at surviving beyond Earth. I'd been carrying the weight of my own ego, trying to prove I was enough. But the prayer showed me something else. These weren't my dreams to keep. They were bigger than me, bigger than my fears, bigger than my failures. That truth hit like a wave relief. Yes, but also a kind of holy terror. If I let go of my need to control the outcome, if I trusted the path Grandma's prayer laid out, I'd have to fight harder than ever. But not for myself, for something greater. I stood up, my chair scraping the floor. My chest felt lighter, like I could breathe again. I wasn't fixed, but I was awake. I grabbed my phone and called my team, my voice steady for the first time in weeks. We're not giving up, I said. Tesla gets one last pitch. SpaceX gets one last launch. We're doing this for the future, not just for us. There was silence on the other end, then a quiet, okay Elon, let's do it. I could hear the exhaustion in their voices, but also a spark, like they felt it too. I hung up and looked out the window. Dawn was breaking, a thin line of gold cutting through the dark. My hands were still shaking, but now it was from adrenaline. Fear, I said the prayer one more time, letting each word sink in. guide me to do what's right. The right thing wasn't to play it safe, to pick one dream and let the other die. It was to fight for both, to bet everything on the next step, even if the path was blurry. I wasn't sure we'd win, but I knew we'd try harder, smarter, bolder than ever before. That morning, I made a choice. No more playing small. No more letting fear call the shots. I'd pitch to every investor who'd listen. Beg if I had to. I'd rally my team for one final launch, pouring every lesson, every failure, into it. But could that prayer really carry us through? Or was this bold move the start of our final fall? Where are you right now? Drop it in the comments. Maybe you're standing at a crossroads where one choice could change everything. Maybe you've faced a moment so big it felt like the whole world was watching, waiting for you to crack. Or maybe you know what it's like to bet everything on a dream, knowing you might lose it all. This is the part of my story where it all came down to one moment, one final test that would either make or break everything I'd fought for. Grandma Cora's prayer had brought me this far. But now it was time to face the fire. It was December 22nd, 2008. The clock was ticking louder than ever. Tesla had one last chance, a meeting with investors who could save us from bankruptcy. SpaceX had one final launch scheduled, our fourth attempt, with everything riding on it. If either failed, it was over. No more money, no more time, no more dreams. My team was exhausted, eyes bloodshot, voices hoarse from endless nights of work. I could see it in their faces, hope flickering, but fear creeping in. My own heart was a drum, pounding so hard I thought it might burst. I hadn't slept in days. My hands shook as I buttoned my shirt for the investor pitch, my mind racing with what was at stake. For Tesla, it wasn't just a company. It was the dream of a world not choked by gas fumes, a future where clean energy wasn't a fantasy. If we went under, that vision died with us. For SpaceX, it was humanity's shot at the stars. Failure meant proving the doubters right that private space travel was a fool's errand. I saw my kids' faces in my mind, their futures tied to mine. I saw Grandma Cora's rocking chair, her steady voice, guide me to do what's right. But what was right when everything was on the line? The Tesla pitch was first. I stood in a sterile conference room, facing a table of suits who looked at me like I was a gambler, begging for chips. My voice cracked as I started, but I pushed through, talking about electric cars, about a planet that could breathe again. They didn't care about dreams, they wanted numbers, guarantees. You're out of cash in weeks, one said, his voice cold. Why should we bet on you? I froze, my throat tight. Doubt clawed at me. They're right, you're not enough. But then I heard it, Grandma's prayer, like a whisper in my chest. Show me what you see. I took a breath, looked him in the eyes, and said, because this isn't about me, it's about what's possible. My words were raw, desperate, but honest. They stared back, silent. I walked out, unsure if I'd convinced them, my stomach twisting. Hours later, I was at SpaceX's control room in Cape Canaveral. The rocket stood tall under floodlights, a beast of metal and hope. My team huddled around monitors, faces pale, hands clenched. This was it, to our last shot. The countdown started, each second a hammer on my nerves. Terminas 10-9-8. My mind screamed, what if it explodes again? What if we've failed everyone? I closed my eyes, whispering, give me the courage to follow where you lead. The room roared as the rocket ignited, flames bursting, shaking the ground. Up it went, a streak against the night sky. My heart stopped. 1 minute, 2, no explosion. Then a cheer erupted. Orbit achieved. Someone shouted. I sank to my knees, tears streaming, relief flooding me like a tidal wave. But Tesla was still hanging by a thread. I drove back to my office, phone buzzing with congratulations for SpaceX. But my mind was on that investor call. If they said no, it was over. I sat at my desk, the same desk where I'd nearly given up, and waited. The phone rang. My hand trembled as I answered. Elon. The voice said, we're in. You've got the funding. I couldn't speak. My chest heaved, a sob breaking free. We'd done it. Both dreams, Tesla and SpaceX, were alive. Not because I had all the answers, but because I'd trusted the prayer, trusted the next step. I looked out at the dawn, the sky now bright with possibility. Grandma Cora's words had carried me through the fire. They'd shown me that the fight wasn't just mine, it was for everyone who believed in a better future. And now, we were ready to run. Where are you right now? Drop it in the comments. Maybe you've just come through a fight that left you changed forever. Maybe you're carrying a lesson that feels like it costs too much to learn. Or maybe you've found a truth so deep, it's become your compass. This is the end of my story, or maybe it's the beginning. It's where I look back at that brutal night in 2008, at Grandma Cora's prayer, and see what it built, what it broke, and what it taught me about life. It's where I ask you to look at your own path and find the wisdom that's been guiding you all along. The sun was fully up that morning in December 2008. My office felt different, still cluttered with papers, still humming with the same old heater, but lighter, like the air itself had changed. Tesla had its funding, a lifeline to keep building cars that could change the world. SpaceX had reached orbit, proving private rockets weren't just a dream. My body was still tired, my eyes raw from tears and sleepless nights, but my heart felt full, like it could burst. I wasn't the same man who'd sat in that chair, ready to give up. I was stronger, not because I'd won, but because I'd learned to let go. Grandma Cora's prayer, show me what you see. Help me love what you love. Guide me to do what's right, hadn't just saved my companies. It had saved me. I leaned back in my chair, the weight of weeks lifting off my shoulders. I thought of Grandma Cora, her rocking chair by the window, her quiet faith in something bigger. She'd never see Tesla's cars on the road or SpaceX's rockets piercing the sky. She'd died when I was 12, too young to know what she'd given me. But sitting there, with dawn painting the walls gold, I felt her with me. Her prayer wasn't about miracles or easy wins. It was about seeing beyond my own plans, loving something bigger than my ego, and trusting the path even when it scared me. I'd lost so much sleep, money, pieces of my pride, but I'd gained something deeper, a way to navigate life's chaos with courage. Now, every morning, before emails or meetings or the endless noise of the world, I say her prayer. It takes 20 seconds, but it shapes everything. It's not about religion or some mystic code. It's about humility, admitting I don't have all the answers. It's about purpose, using work that serves more than just myself. When I look at the climate crisis, I see the need for electric cars. When I look at humanity's future, I see Mars. When I look at my own failures, relationships that broke, dreams that faltered, see chances to grow, to love better, to try again. That prayer taught me to hold my plans lightly, to trust the next step, even when the road ahead is dark. What about you? Think about the battles you've fought, the moments you thought you'd break. Maybe there's a voice, a parent, a teacher, a friend who gave you something small, something you overlooked, a word, a lesson, a prayer. What if you went back to it? What if you asked for guidance, not from your own head, but from something bigger? You don't need Grandma Cora's prayer. You just need the courage to listen for your own. I carry her with me every day, not just in boardrooms or launch sites, but in quiet moments when I doubt myself, when life feels too heavy. Her 26 words are my anchor, my map, my reminder that I'm not alone. Share this with someone who needs to know they're not alone either. Subscribe if these stories make you think about the voices that shaped you. And remember, the simplest truths often come from the people who loved you most. Sometimes a grandmother's prayer is all you need to find your way home.